Since politicians will not pass meaningful gun control measures, schools have been forced to take matters into their own hands with half measures that likely won't do much to prevent future mass shootings. Here are the details. A handful of school districts across Texas have moved forward to announce clear backpack mandates for the upcoming academic year. Jake Epstein with the Insider reporting. This week, Dallas Independent School District became the latest state, or the latest in the state to announce that students must have clear or mesh backpacks for the upcoming year, following others like Greenville, San Antonio Southside, and Ingleside. So what they're talking about is quite literally a backpack that is made of clear or mesh plastic, or clear plastic or mesh, so that you can see absolutely through it and you can see all of its contents, so that no one can bring in, I don't know, an AR-15 in their backpack. We should be able to see through to see the AR-15, right? Of course, that's a joke because an AR-15 wouldn't fit into a backpack. And we know such a significant proportion of these mass shootings are large assault rifles. It's not students bringing them in their backpacks, but this is the policy measure that the schools have decided they're gonna go with. Insider reached Chris Grolnick, who's a retired police officer, police detective corporal, an expert in active shooter prevention. His comment was, one solution won't be enough to prevent gun violence, and clear backpacks should be one step in a larger plan that includes measures like tighter gun laws, broader access to mental health resources, and better police training. In the absence of meaningful reforms like those, we're very likely to just see more mass shootings. But schools are probably going to keep implementing half measures like this because, of course, schools can't make gun laws and restrict the purchasing of AR-15s. But some other steps that they could take include more training for staff, restricted access to enter schools, gun detection surveillance, automatic lockdowns, and software that would immediately notify police of a gunshot. And then Grolnick made a really interesting analogy to fires at schools. He said, we haven't lost a child to a school fire in 64 years. Adding that, we got tired of losing kids to fire in schools and introduced prevention methods like fire trucks, fire alarms, and fireproof buildings. We're not ready to let kids stop dying in schools yet, he added. Listen, I'm sure that fire trucks were not invented for the purpose of fires in schools and children dying of fires in schools. Fires are a problem everywhere. Mass shootings are a problem uniquely in places like schools in the United States. And listen, the reason we don't have tons of children dying in fires today is because there's no fire lobby, but there is a gun lobby. And gun rights groups in the United States spent a record of 15.8 million on lobbying in 2021 alone, 2 million in the first quarter of 2022. These organizations have invested 190 million in lobbying efforts since 1998. Gun rights advocates spent more than 114 million of that total since 2013. So that's Open Secrets reporting. They do a lot of good work creating transparency and who's taking money from who. But it's just disgusting that schools are forced to implement policies like clear backpacks. I mean, think about what you carried in your backpack. Think about, if you're a young girl and you're like menstruating for the first time and you have to put menstrual products in your backpack on your way to school. Now it's clear, now everyone can see in your backpack. That's just like one facet of the kind of privacy you're losing with having clear backpacks. It's just really not a solution for mass shootings. And now you're forcing families to go out and buy special backpacks for their kids. How many families can afford to get a new backpack for their kids? I mean, this is a cost that you have to consider, and it's obviously an imperfect solution to this problem. And the reason we don't have actual policy solutions is because of the amount of money lining the pockets of politicians to legislate on behalf of corporations instead of the public interest, the kids in the schools.
Yeah, I'm glad that you pointed out the added cost because it's always so telling who they're able to easily, without any debate, levy costs against. If you have multiple kids and you have to place both their backpacks, that's a cost. My wife's sister is a teacher in Texas actually, and she has to do what a lot of teachers have to do, which is do like Amazon wish lists for like erasers and stuff for cubbies and everything. Like they desperately, because there's no funding there. A lot of these areas, neither the parents nor the teachers have excess money. And to just throw that onto them, as by the way, none of them believe that that's gonna have any effect on any of these shootings for the reasons you pointed out. It's just a thing so that you can say that you did something. And as people in the chat are saying, wait, but I thought they were supposed to get bulletproof backpacks. I thought that was the direction we were going in. Is it possible that none of these are actually solutions? The thing with the fire, actually, I thought was a pretty interesting analogy. Yes, we do have to have stuff like fire trucks. We have to have those systems to get to a fire when it starts, because the thing is that fires happen sometimes. They don't have to be really caused, they can happen spontaneously. And by the way, we also try to control certain types of materials and stuff to make them not happen naturally. That analogy falls down in the face that the shootings are being done by people. The idea that, as you said, the school districts can't determine their own gun laws, but they are forced to exist in the context that, for instance, with Uvalde, they're put in by the Republican state legislature. They are put in the literal line of fire and are unable to do anything to stop it from happening. And the best they can hope for is that the cops will arrive quickly and the cops won't be absolutely cowardly. That software will detect the first shot. The issue with that is that that first shot might have just murdered a teacher. And so we surrender so much. We surrender 1 minute, 3 minutes, 10 minutes for that person to kill as many people as they want to before the cops can possibly have any hope of getting there. And thanks to the gun laws, you can kill a lot of people in that time. And that 1 minute, that 10 minutes, that period where they get to kill unrestrained, we're not allowed to debate what the conditions should be for that. We're not allowed to debate whether some weapons are inherently too dangerous to be allowed to exist.
Yeah, red flag laws would do so much to reduce mass shootings. And the way that they talk about red flag laws, like it's violating people's rights against unreasonable search and seizure, their Fifth Amendment rights. Absolutely not, absolutely not. Red flag laws more often than not would have stopped so many of these mass shootings, because there have been people who have reported a lot of these guys to the FBI in advance of this. There have been members of the community who have known that these people are a huge risk. And so just red flag laws alone would do far more than what this guy suggests, which is more police training. What were the officers in Uvalde not trained to do? Well, we've covered this on the show, unfortunately, quite a lot this week because we've had to, but police officers are taught to protect yourself and make sure you get home. And oftentimes that means at the expense of the lives of the civilians they have interactions with, where they think someone might have a gun and they crouch behind a car. Robert Adams, a story we covered, a 23-year-old who was shot by San Bernardino police. The police just got out of the car and started firing. And so their first instinct is to get themselves home. Why did 400 officers in Uvalde not stop this mass shooter? Was it really training? I don't buy it.